We're hitting the top of the hour here, so I think we can just dive in and let's get started. I'm really excited. So everyone, thank you so much, especially our friends from around the world. Thank you for joining us today. We appreciate the time. We appreciate you spending a little of your day with us, learning more about artificial intelligence and how it can impact your career and your life. And I'm super excited today because today's webinar is on a really, really salient topic for marketers of all different stripes. We're going to talk about how to write marketing, social, and ad copy with generative AI, with AI that can actually create text and create images. And in doing so, we're going to learn how to dramatically improve and speed up content creation with artificial intelligence. So we're actually really, really lucky today that we are going to learn from one of the top AI companies out there today. Jasper is an AI-powered writing platform, and they just raised a whopping $125 million Series A round of funding to bring AI-powered writing capabilities to the world. That is a stunning amount of money to raise in a Series A. It's valuing Jasper at over $1 billion. And they are certainly going to take the world by storm with those kinds of resources and the product they have. So we're really excited to dive into this. So before we get started here, I want to make a quick note about the webinar format. This webinar is supposed to show you AI in action. It's all about seeing an educational demo of AI-powered technology and learning by seeing it exactly how it can benefit you. And you're going to see as part of the webinar an in-depth demo of what Jasper can do. So keep that in mind as we go. We're not just going to be talking about generative AI like Jasper. We're actually going to be seeing it in action. So CJ, if you want to move us forward a couple slides, we can go through a little housekeeping. Then I'm going to turn it over to you. So I am very lucky today to be with CJ Donio, Group Product Manager at Jasper. CJ, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Mike and Kathy.
And we are going to hear a little bit more about CJ's background in just a moment here. My name is Mike Kaput. I am the Chief Content Officer at Marketing AI Institute. And if you could take us forward, we're going to share just a little bit about what Marketing AI Institute is. We are, at the end of the day, a media, event, and online education company. And our whole mission, our reason for being, is to make AI approachable and actionable for marketers. Now, we do that in a ton of different ways. We have a ton of AI resources on our website. Please visit the link that you see there if you're interested, marketingaiinstitute.com. And those resources include hundreds of articles on how to apply AI to your marketing career, your company. We have a 2022 State of Marketing and Sales AI report, which surveys hundreds of marketing leaders on AI adoption and understanding. And we actually recently published a book called Marketing Artificial Intelligence, AI Marketing and the Future of Business. And you can find those resources and more on the URL displayed on your screen. And I can promise if you take a look at the website and some of the free resources we offer, you can dramatically accelerate your ability to understand and apply AI. And if you can move us forward one more. Last but not least, I want to draw attention to our monthly webinar series. Today's webinar is part of a series that we regularly run where we tap into the expertise of industry leaders to help you understand, pilot, and scale AI. Now, future webinars that are upcoming, you can register for, and you can also see all of our webinars on demand that we've done in the past by following the link on your screen, bit.ly/marketing-AI-webinars. And before I let CJ take the reins here and get us off on the path of using AI to create content, I do want to mention if you have any comments at all, any questions, anything you want answered or you're wondering about, please use the Q&A and chat functions. Our team is standing by to provide helpful links, information, and also to source those questions for the Q&A at the end of the webinar. So we will try to get to as many questions as possible. And with that, CJ, take us away.
Awesome. Thank you again, Mike and Kathy. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak today. Again, I want to call out, we've got some folks from support at Jasper, some folks from marketing as well as product. So thank you, team, for helping me out here. I may defer to them on some of the answers, kind of where they're experts. So let's get into it. All right. So here's our agenda today. So we're going to be talking about AI. And just one quick note on AI. Every time I mention AI to friends, I work at an AI company, they always act with a little bit of fear. They're like, oh, you're building Arnold Schwarzenegger in a leather jacket, chasing me down the hallway of a hospital. And I go, no, that's not what we're building here. So we're building this cute gal here on the right, Jasper, basically AI for content marketing. That really is our niche, and that's what we're interested in. Today, we're going to talk about me for a second. And the reason why we're doing that is I want you to know what my biases are, kind of what my background is. Spoiler alert, I'm not a marketer, but I'm married to one. So that's hopefully giving me some points. We'll also go through AI history. I think that's important because, as Mike kind of already touched on, last 2 to 3 years is really when AI become available to everybody across the globe. And so we'll talk about basically that timeline. We'll talk about Jasper briefly as well. And then I'm going to kind of transition and talk about a day in the life of your job. So one thing I hear day in, day out as I talk to different teams and CMOs is, man, it's tough being a content marketer right now. And so I'll talk about some of those pain points. I'll hopefully talk about how generative AI can lift a lot of that burden for you. So we'll define what it is. We'll define why it matters, why you should care about it. And then we're going to actually jump into Jasper. So I'll kind of set the stage a little bit, talk about how Jasper works briefly, and then I will jump into Jasper Write to do basically some copy. I'll also jump into Jasper Art and generate some images. And then from there, we'll go to a Q&A. And I'll just say, there may be some questions that are kind of a Pandora's box. I'll have Mike help me out here if it's too long of an answer, but some of them we may send to you after, just so we can give you a thorough, kind of thoughtful response. Okay, let's jump into it. About me. So I'm based in Salt Lake City, Utah, by the way. I'm seeing we have a giant Midwest and Europe presence. So I'm interested to see which one's going to win the battle here. I've worked in product and project management for about 12 years. So I worked in banking, I've worked in ed tech, worked in fintech recently, and now I'm in AI. I'm a group PM, and what that basically means is I've got 2 product managers that report to me. I'm also over billing, which we're working a ton on, and I also have a business engineering team. So we'll talk about this a little bit later, but essentially, I've got a whole team of engineers and a designer that we're just working on features for big marketing teams. So really exciting stuff. Outside of work, I'm a nerd for AI. Literally, I have what I call AI Twitter. I follow a bunch of artists. I follow a bunch of intellectuals. And basically, I just learn every day the new advancements coming. I learned some of the concerns of the AI community. I'm a big proponent of like ethics in AI. So just know that about me personally. Kind of transitioning to my education background, I have a bunch of certifications. I've been doing product and project for many years, project management. And I also have an MPA. So know I'm a little bit of a bleeding heart. And reason why I'm here at Jasper is I truly think we're going to make a positive difference in the world. Lastly, I'm a musician. If it's not obvious, I got a bunch of stuff back here. I love to travel with my wife. So that picture's me in Greece. And I have a fur baby named Luna. So I'm a dog person. Let me pause there. Mike, any questions for me before we move on?
No, that's awesome. I love that with your background, you're coming at this from a product perspective of how this tool can actually be applied to marketing. I mean, we see, as anyone who's been following the space can tell, there's a ton of really amazing technology being developed, and we're just scratching the surface on the use cases, the real world use cases in business for these stunning technologies. So you are the perfect person to be talking about this. And I just want to chime in. Someone just asked, what instrument do you play?
Okay, here's my lame joke. When I was 12, my parents gave me a music catalog. They said, pick any instrument and then we'll also get you lessons. I pointed to a drum set, and 3 weeks later, I got a guitar. So I actually play both, but guitar I've played since I was a kid.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you. All right, let's keep going. So let's go into history. So I'm going to talk a lot about this timeline. One thing I didn't mention at the top of the agenda that I want to mention so I don't forget is we have a special offer for folks for our business plan at the end of the call. So please stick around so you can get your hands on that special offer. It's kind of a thank you for everyone attending here. Okay, a quick history. So let's go through kind of the development of AI through the years. So 1950 is really when a lot of people consider AI, the concept of AI really started to form, with Alan Turing coming up with the Turing test. Basically, this is a test to see if a machine can think like a person, to see if a machine is actually sentient, right? And then shortly after, you have the term artificial intelligence coined by Professor John McCarthy at Stanford. From there, we actually start to see the first applications of AI, specifically in the form of a chatbot in 1964 named Eliza. And by the way, today there are dozens, if not hundreds, of chatbot AI companies. It's pretty impressive. Then we kind of fast forward, there's what was called the AI winter, not a lot of development kind of happened. And we go up to 1997 with IBM. So they developed Deep Blue, basically an AI bot that beat a human world champion at chess. So you start to see an AI actually kind of compete at a human level in terms of intelligence, which is pretty impressive. Then we kind of fast forward a little bit. We all know about this. Siri came out 2011. All of us are like showing our friends, like, check it out. I can recite the song lyrics to any song you can think of by David Bowie. Just test me, right? Really, really cool. Also in 2011, kind of another intelligence competition here, but this time with IBM and Watson beating human players at Jeopardy, which was pretty cool. I remember watching that and being blown away. Going a little bit further here, 2014, Amazon's Alexa comes out, really changes the game in terms of being able to talk to a virtual assistant and order things very quickly and easily. 2015 is, in my opinion, a very pivotal part of the generative AI movement because OpenAI is founded, which we'll talk a little bit about. They're basically a research partner for AI. And then in 2017, so continuing that thread of human competition, Google creates AlphaGo and it beats a human player. And the reason why this one's significant is Go is a game that's very much about like deception and strategy. It's very difficult to program a computer to do that, but they did, and the computer won. And then 2021, and I know I'm biased because I'm a Jasper employee, but honestly, Jasper changed the game. 2021, generative AI, we're kind of the flagship for content marketing focused AI. And just to put it in perspective, we were granted this year an award by Inc. 5000, one of the fastest growing companies in America. We're also one of the fastest growing startups ever. So I'll talk more about that, but I'm really passionate about Jasper because I really think this is a printing press moment. And I think in a few years, we're going to look back on the developments of AI and be like, wow, remember when we used to do all that, menial work, that laborious work? Now we're like doing this high impact work. How cool is that? So I definitely think that's on the horizon. Okay, so talking about that a little bit, I just kind of gave you a timeline through 2021. Again, it's just getting started. So by the way, this image on the left here, I generated with AI. And what I'm trying to show here is we just climbed this mountain. There's a bunch of other mountains ahead of us, right? So text generation is maturing really rapidly. There's a bunch of competition in this space. AI art came out this year, and it's really developing quickly, even though it's in its infancy. AI video is in early stages of development. So I watched a video of a car driving down a street. They pause the video, they circle a mailbox and remove the mailbox from the image. They keep going, driving down the street in a completely AI generated video. And then AI audio is also on the horizon. So a lot of people are doing this for like voiceovers, even like lyrics to bands. So just to give you an example of all these put together and kind of where this could go, imagine creating your own spokesperson for your brand. Imagine creating Flo from Progressive, right? You're using text to generate the script for her to speak. You're using art to generate some different images of what she could look like. You're using video to animate those images. And then she even has a unique voice, right? How cool would that be? Let me pause there, Mike. But I'm excited because, again, I think this wave is just starting. I think it's going to continue for many years ahead.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think what's really interesting and important for the audience to understand is we just saw, a 50+ year timeline of AI developments. And what's really important is to understand the last few years have truly been fundamentally different. We've hit a tipping point. And even if you have looked at AI tools to generate text as short as a few years ago, it's worth another look now because the technology has so rapidly improved, and we've added things like art, image, video, and audio. These models that drive AI tools that generate text have rapidly matured. You're really going to be blown away by what's possible today versus a few years ago. So I would just keep in mind that even what we're saying today, 6 months from now, it's going to be even better.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All right, let's keep going. So I want to talk about you all for a second, right? We're here to talk about AI specifically in content marketing. So let's talk about that. All right, so here's a day in the life of a content marketing team. You feel reactive. You constantly have content requests coming in, hitting your desk. They feel like they're never ending. They feel like they're almost always a surprise. You're understaffed, you're overburdened. Quality is hard to maintain, especially at scale, and you're being asked to work at scale. And by the way, there's kind of this interesting like failure flywheel where if you don't continue to create content, your SEO results suffer, your leads suffer. So you've got to keep going even though you're feeling behind, right? And it's also hard to be creative, by the way, when you have these constraints for time and context switching, you have this pressure. It's really hard to create something impactful in terms of text or images. You have to stay relevant by constantly creating content. So I kind of already touched on this, but you have to keep it going. Once you start your content creation machine, you can't just shut it off and get the same results that you were getting before. And then you're spending a ton of time on fires and low value work and less on high value, high impact work, right? So how do you continue to produce quality content despite increasing demand and resource limitations? That's the question. I'm going to argue the answer is generative AI. So to give you a super fancy technical definition, artificial intelligence content generation programs that use existing context, such as existing text or images, to produce new and original content faster than traditional manual methods of content creation. What I'm trying to say here is generative AI helps you generate content faster, that's higher quality, and it's better. Okay, I want to talk about one problem before I go any further. Because again, every time I talk about AI, first of all, everyone kind of goes to like Terminator and Ex Machina and stuff like that. The other thing they bring up is they just straight up say, artificial intelligence is going to replace my team. That's what I'm hearing you're saying right now. That is not what I'm saying. What we're building at Jasper, the intent, the way the tools work, it is not a button that anyone can just go push and replace your job. And in fact, I think that will be impossible. Because with human creation, there comes kind of this soul, this art form that I don't think ever a machine will be able to fully emulate. So what is AI going to do for you? Well, it's going to augment your abilities. It's going to basically give you a superpower here that makes you feel like a superhero, specifically in the context of being more efficient, being more effective. So let me give you a quick example. We often hear it's someone would say to us, it takes me hours to do a blog post. With Jasper, it took me 15 to 20 minutes, right? That's totally doable. We hear it every day. I've even done this for my wife, which she's now a Jasper user. It's totally possible with generative AI. All right, Mike, let me pause there before I go any further. Any questions for me?
Yeah, I think I love what you said about augmentation. I think it's really important people understand that, your writing and content generation workflow isn't just sitting down and writing words on paper, though that's a big part of it. It is all sorts of things, from ideation to outlining to summarizing to researching to writing to editing, etc. So when we talk about augmentation, you can really capture massive efficiencies and superpowers, as you put it, by focusing on pieces of a content workflow and where AI like Jasper can work hand in hand with you like an incredible kind of machine generated coworker. Is that kind of what you're getting at here?
Yeah. There's two terms I often use. One is, Jasper is your digital team member. And the other one I use is Riff Buddy. And what I mean by that is, we'll talk about this a little bit more later, but I have a personal project outside of work. I'm working on a graphic novel. Sometimes I get stuck. Sometimes I don't know where to go. I can go to Jasper and say, hey, give me some new ideas here. I don't know where to go with this particular plot. And Jasper can basically help you brainstorm, like you mentioned. So yes, it's literally a digital team member. It's literally something you'll interact with. And by the way, in the future, that's going to even be more a scenario where we're going to make it more conversational over time. Yeah. All right, this is a perfect segue, Mike. I want to go into this next section here, intro to Jasper, because I want to talk quickly about how he works, and then we're actually going to touch on those use cases that me and Mike were just talking about. Okay, so super simple answer for how Jasper works. Jasper references 10% of the published internet when generating content. Now, really key point here, he's not going to websites and copying this information and just dropping it on your page. He's literally referencing that information, then he's generating content, unique content. In fact, 99.9% of our content is unique, and you can actually prove that yourself by using our plagiarism checker and seeing that for yourself. So that's the simple answer. He reads all the internet, that's blog posts, that's Reddit, that's everything, and he generates content. Now, I'm going to give you the more complex answer here, but first I want to start with a metaphor. So think of Jasper as kind of a librarian in a really big library. Let's pretend you're at a library in Dublin, just wall-to-wall books, stories high. You walk up to Jasper and you say, okay, I really need to write this article on hot rods. I don't know anything about cars. Jasper goes, ooh, I know exactly where that book is that you need. So let me go grab that for you and I'll hand this over. So basically, Jasper, to give you kind of the more technical definition here, relies on a bunch of different models. And those models basically are specialized to specific use cases, like my example with like cars, automotive, right? So Jasper knows which models to go to get you the best possible output, the highest quality output. And by the way, we also fine-tune those models constantly. So one big thing that separates us from others, we have an AI team behind the scenes. And every day they're basically teaching Jasper more information. They're doing A/B testing to see if a certain model works with a certain template better. They're also constantly improving our technological advancements, even things like performance, how quick it takes Jasper to generate content. So that's the more complex answer. Any questions there, Mike?
No, I just want to reiterate something you said. So what you're saying is that when Jasper's referencing published internet content and working behind the scenes with AI to process that content, it is producing an original output, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's what makes it really powerful. And you'll kind of see as well, if you try the same input, I give you the input I did, you'll often see it's completely different. And that's, again, by design. The whole point is we want to get him to the point where he's just like a human and he's coming up with unique ideas every time. Yep.
Great.
All right, let's go one more slide and then we're going to jump into this demo. I'm talking too much. Thank you all for bearing with me. So let's talk about the use cases. Where can Jasper help you with your gig? So we already talked about brainstorming ideas. We already talked about breaking through writer's block. So again, I literally would give Jasper a passage and what I said in the commands was, hey, tell me 3 different ways I could take this story. And I was really shocked. He actually came up with some ideas I really liked. Really original, really creative. You can also simplify existing content. So unfortunately, my writing style is very academic. That's just how it is. That's how kind of I learned. So whenever I write, I like to pop it into Jasper and be like, please make this a little bit friendlier for people to read. I feel like mine is very boring, right? You can also test ad and landing page variations. So what I mean by this is you could literally write text for your website. You can pop it into Jasper and say, okay, rephrase this. And now you've kind of got an A/B test. Which text is better that's facing customers on our webpage? You can also synthesize research. So you could pop in a bunch of content. We'll look at our content summarizer super briefly, but you basically drop in 12,000 characters and say, okay, give me 4 bullet points that tell me what this text is about. You can also improve and optimize existing content. So I kind of think of this as like the refresh. I had a customer who wrote 2,400 articles on their website, and there's some really good stuff there, but they're several years old now. You can take that content, you can have him change it, add some updated information, and now you've got kind of a great update for your blog post. And then last 2 here, you can generate image alternatives to stock photos. I don't know about you, I love stock photo sites, but it always takes me a ton of time to like find the image I want. And just like when I'm trying to like pick a parking spot at Costco, I always try to go deep. So I'm like, okay, no one has this image. But then I later find out that image is on like 100 other sites despite my efforts. With Jasper, you can generate unique images and they're yours, which is really cool. And then last one here, we also communicate across language barriers. So what that means is Jasper supports up to 25 plus languages. So you can generate content in English. You can then say, okay, let's turn this into Brazilian Portuguese. Let's get that going. So really, really cool in terms of bridging the gap between countries and their languages. Okay, I'm about to jump into the demo, Mike. Anything else before I kick this off?
No, I just want to remind the audience, we will get to, we have a bunch of great questions in chat. We'll get to a lot of these during the Q&A. Before we go forward, I wanted to just highlight, to really reiterate to the audience, you just saw 7 or 8 use cases, again, that are not directly necessarily writing a blog post from scratch, though that is a huge use case for Jasper. We have people in the comments that are mentioning all these creative tasks that you are doing every day that takes so much time. Like, for instance, Allison says, you know, I have a client that routinely shares a blank blog editorial calendar with me and expects that I come up with all the topics. Something like Jasper can 100% help with that task, even if you're not using something like Jasper necessarily out of the gate to write 1,000 words. How much time could you save if you could populate your editorial calendar with incredible ideas that are high quality and creative? And another example, Raphael says, I have to produce social media content at an agency. I'm expected to deliver like 30 posts in an hour. That's a lot. I'm sure Raphael's really busy doing that. Something like Jasper can extremely, help extremely lighten the load in that, with that augmentation of your existing content tasks. So don't hesitate to think creatively as we dive in and see what Jasper's capable of. It's not just about you sitting in front of a window and saying, Jasper, write me something, and it's perfect. It takes some time to work with the tool, but there's also so many creative ways to use it.
And we see customers every single day use it in ways that we're like, oh, I never thought of it.
Yeah.
So that's pretty awesome. All right, well, let's jump into this. So I think this will help just going through the product itself. And what I'll say is, I'm going to kind of take you through a demo here of how powerful Jasper is. What's a little crazy and it's hard to kind of show in 15 minutes, there's a ton of different tools in Jasper. So what I'll do is I'll highlight a couple of them, and then we're going to go through a scenario where I'm pretending I'm a content marketer at like a renewable energy firm, right? And I'm managing their blog posts. Okay, so a couple things I want to point out real quick. We'll come back at the end of the demo. We'll look at art. So I'll generate some images and kind of show you how that works. I mentioned this briefly, content summarizer. So this is where you can drop a bunch of content and basically say, summarize this for me, Jasper, and he'll kick out bullet points, which is pretty cool. But for the sake of this demo, I want to start with templates. And the reason why, templates is a really good starting point to kind of, okay, I've got some ideas already. So again, let me put myself in the shoes of this fictional marketer at a renewable energy company. I have some facts about renewable energy. I know basically about like solar and wind and water, but I don't know a ton of the specific details. And what I'd really like to do is actually get examples for each of those. I think that would really land with my reader if I said, hey, check out how cool geothermal is. By the way, this country's doing that. And so what I'll kind of start with here is commands. And basically with what commands, you're literally commanding Jasper to generate content. And so what I want to generate here are, what are the different types of renewable energy? How do they reduce global warming? And how do they work? So I'm basically giving him some basic context. Again, think of him as that librarian. Hey, I want to know about renewable energy. And he's like, okay, now I'm going to tell him what I want. Give me an outline for a blog post about the different types of renewable energy. Okay, let's see what he comes up with. So a couple of things I'll point out here. Here's where we can change our language, input language as well as output language. I'm not going to try Japanese. You don't want to see me struggle through that. You can also adjust the content outputs here. So what this is, I always think of this as comps. It will give you kind of a few different examples to play with. So let's see what he comes up with here. And by the way, while this is generating, I've got like an intro to my article. I've even got some random facts. I'm hoping he gives me some information I can kind of tie in what I already have. Okay, this is pretty good. So this first one here talks about renewable energy. It actually mentions the one I was interested in: solar, water, wind, geothermal, and biomass. Those are actually the 5 I was looking for. I've got another variation here, a little bit shorter. Again, completely different text. He even gave me a title for that one. That one's kind of rad. Hey, okay. I think I'm going to go with the first one just because it gives me more to play with. So a couple options here. I could just copy this out. I could drop it in the document editor in Jasper, or I could just click open in documents. So let me go ahead and do that. And basically, way to think about documents, it's very, very similar to Google Docs, right? Okay, he's loading here. And a couple things to point out while he's loading here. There's actually several ways I'm going to show you on how to run commands. You have this command bar. There's a cool hotkey that I'll show you that you can do. And then all those templates I was just seeing before are now here on the left. So we've entered what's called power mode. So there's kind of the basic, okay, let me just focus. Let me just edit my document mode. We call focus mode. And then there's, okay, let's party to the fullest extent of power mode. Okay, so a couple of things here. Let me take my intro that I came up with. I'm actually going to axe that because I kind of like the one that I have better. So here's what I came up with. Again, these are the different kind of points I want to make. I do need a title. So maybe let me show off how to write a title with Jasper here. So let me come down here. I'm going to use a hotkey. So I'm going to say, write an exciting headline for this blog post by referencing the information above. And then what I do is I actually hit Command Enter, and see there, he's going to highlight that. And he goes, okay, I see exactly what you're looking for. So he gives me some different options here. Okay, that one's kind of nice. I like that one. Yeah, maybe I'll do that one. Okay, so I'm going to cut those out. That gives me an idea. That was an example of me riffing with Jasper here. Let's throw that in as an H1. I've got a cool introduction here. Maybe I should just be a little bit more structured here, make that an H2. So I've got my intro. I've got solar here. Maybe I don't want to just call it, again, the name of that section. Maybe I want to call it, again, something exciting. So one trick you can do here is you can actually add some stars. So what this does is he only reads basically up to the stars. And then same thing, generate a paragraph headline for the paragraph above. Command Enter again. There you go. Not too bad. I can work with that. It's not 100% where I want it, but it's better than just being like solar. So let's throw that in there. Okay, water power. So same kind of thing. Another thing I could do here, throw my stars in here. I'm going to show you compose. So what compose is I kind of just say, keep going with your thought, Jasper. I'm curious where you'll go. So let's see what he'll do here. It's Command J, or I could even just type this compose button right there. So let me hit Command J. Oh, that's kind of interesting. Okay, so he's starting to kind of throw some background on like where water came from, which again, I kind of wanted to incorporate some examples. And by the way, I actually have a few prepared. So let me see here. It still stands today as a tourist and museum and tourist attraction. Okay, that's not too bad. Yeah, so again, he gave me a little bit more information on water. And then I can throw in here, let's see, water power. And the 19th century. Okay, I'm going to just quickly come up with a few more examples here just so I can move us along. Again, I'm going to jump down to geothermal. So same kind of thing here. I want to come up with a headline. You can also use, again, you can use these tools over here. So one thing you can use, I really love this one. Let me actually use this as an example for biomass. So I'm going to just chop that out. What is biomass energy? How does it work? And how does it help the planet? And then again, I can come in here and say biomass energy, renewable energy. And then what's really cool is you can also do a tone of voice. So I can say, be informative. I could say, even a celebrity. So one of my favorite ones to play around with is Ryan Reynolds, because he's kind of funny, even though it's like really good content. So you can totally just add descriptors or individual people like Barack Obama. And then in the future, we're actually going to do something really cool where we like infer your brand's voice. So that's something that my team's working on. It's pretty awesome. Okay, let's generate some different outputs here, and he's going to generate these below. And I'll see if any of them are worth my time here on biomass energy. Okay, cool. Let's see here. Comes from plant and animal matter. Okay, that's not too bad. Okay. Same kind of thing here, same thought, but a little bit different wording. Okay, so I'm going to take this. So again, same thing, I can copy, or I can click here and just insert that right into that section here. Okay, for the sake of time, I want to show you a few more things, so I'm going to keep rocking here. Again, the way I use Jasper that tends to be the most effective is, again, I'm not just generating all my content. Think of that metaphor of just hitting a button and it just doing your job. That's not what Jasper is. What I love to do is kind of mix in my writing. And that, by the way, just makes it even more unique. And so, for example, this geothermal section, I went to Iceland in 2021. And one really interesting thing that I learned in Iceland is we kept going to hotels and they had a sign saying, hey, this is all powered from geothermal. So I actually did a little bit of research. It didn't take me long. And I kind of came up with some content here about how Iceland's a world leader in geothermal energy. So you can say Iceland and geothermal power grids. Okay, again, let's make that. Oops. I'm doing commands for my passwords. You guys don't really see that. There we go. Let's add an H2 here. And then I think I'm missing one on biomass and maybe the other. Let's do one more thing here. Give me an example of someone using biomass effectively. All right. And again, command enter is your buddy. I'm just doing that same command you're going to see over and over again. Oh, wow. I didn't even know that was a thing. I've never even heard of that. Okay. Wow. That's really interesting. So again, we could come up with a headline and Hawaii and a use case in Hawaii. All right. Now, while I'm doing this real quick, I'm going to swap over to another mode that's really, really cool. SEO mode. So basically what I'm going to show you here is I can kind of plug in some criteria for generating an SEO ranking. So again, I'm talking about renewable energy. I'm talking about solar energy, water, hydro energy, biomass energy, you get it. We'll just start there. We'll keep it simple. So what it's going to do here is this is going to generate basically a profile to rank my content. Now, what it's looking at is it's looking for a lot of the criteria, like, do I have an H1, for example? Do I have different headers? How many paragraphs do I have? It's going to look at a bunch of content. The other cool thing I could do is I could drop in a bunch of pictures. So I've got a few pictures I've kind of pulled from Jasper Art. So let me go in here. I've got one that actually really reminds me of Iceland. So I'm going to chuck him in right after that paragraph. Leave. Oh, that's my solar panels. There we go. I like that one. So let's throw him in there. Let's see what else I've got here. Oh yeah, I got one for hydro. I totally forgot about that. Water power in Wisconsin. Perfect. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll throw that right at the top as well. I'll probably lay that out differently in my website later, but that's a good starting point. There we go. Let's do that one here. Okay, that gives me pretty good content. All right, let's pull up the SEO tracker here. I just want to show you what this looks like, because again, what it's going to do is it's going to look at a lot of those different criteria and kind of come up with a ranking. So I'm about halfway. That's not bad. How many minutes is that? 10 minutes, 12 minutes? I'm already at 50%. Like, hey, that's pretty good. And then down below, it's going to show you, hey, here's some words that you can basically add that will improve your SEO ranking. Let's see here. Let's try electricity generation. these resources for, okay, I'm going to add here for electricity generation. And you'll notice there, it counted it. See how it turns orange there? So again, I can go through my whole article. I'm just realizing I'm messing up my, oh, that's okay. I'll come back to that later. I think I accidentally copied and pasted and I had it highlighted, but I'll fix that later. There we go. Whoops. All right, there we go. So same here with solar. I can basically say, solar solar technology generate energy are yeah, something like that. There we go. So I've got some more here, solar. So you get the point, right? So I'll kind of go through, I'll basically change a lot of the words that I have or add new words to kind of increase my score. Remember, we were at 50%. I just changed a couple things. We're already at 55%. And then you can also see here, it also gives you more suggestions, like maybe I need more paragraphs. So for example, one thing that I've missed is I kind of have this trend where I explain what the energy is, and then I kind of give an example of it. So if I go through and I add examples for solar, it might just be solar. That's the only one I'm missing here. Yeah, so that will help me right there. If I add more images, so every section has an image, that's also going to boost my SEO. And then just one other thing I always like to do, again, this is kind of my academic brain thinking. You can come in here and say, okay, Jasper, I want you to write a conclusion to this blog post. Now, for me, conclusion is one of the most important things. One thing I'll say in general is I always focus on, okay, what are the key points I want to make? What's the soul of this writing? That's where I want to focus. Whereas Jasper can just help me pull up some interesting facts, some interesting definitions. He can help me with that heavy lifting. So in this example, I probably generated more content than I actually would for a legit blog post, but that was just to kind of show you how powerful the tool is. And then you also see here, I have Grammarly enabled. So it's also kind of doing a, hey, that's a weird, contraction, or that's, you're missing a comma there. So actually help me go through and just make sure I'm proofreading my article. So basically when I get to this point, and I'm so close at 60, but we're almost out of time. And I want to give you all time to ask questions, but you get the point there. I went from 50 to 60 in just a couple minutes. It's very quick and easy in 15, 20 minutes to be on the green to publish an article. Only thing I'll say is I always go through, I read everything. Any facts that it mentions, hey, this country did this in this year, I go and I make sure that that's correct, right? Just like I would for my writing. I also make sure I proofread. I also still go through regular approvals like I would for my content. So I'm just showing you here how I did a bunch of heavy lifting. I incorporated some of my content. I was really heavy on using commands, but again, there's so many other tools you can use here. One other one I want to show real quick is our one-shot blog post. So this was me just kind of coming with a structure in mind and writing my article. Let me go back and I'll show you the one-shot blog post in action. So we even have this capability, renewable energy, solar power, wind power, water power, geothermal power, and biomass power. Again, let's have a little fun here. We'll do Ryan Reynolds to see what we end up with. Hopefully nothing too inappropriate. And then what I love about this is you can say who your audience is, right? So maybe for the sake of this presentation, CMOs, marketers. Okay, and let's see what he comes up with. So what's interesting about this particular template, there's actually a lot happening behind the scenes in terms of how Jasper's putting together this content. He's actually going to give me different sections. He's going to give me a title. He's going to give me some of the body here, which you'll see. But this is one of 60 plus templates that we have in our library that you can use. Another really cool one I'd recommend for new marketers is the ADA framework. If you're familiar, I'm sure you all are. Really, really awesome. But you see here, he gave me a blog title. He gave me an intro. He gave me a body, right? And so maybe I could even just use this to compare to what I wrote in like is it as good, right? So you can see here, you can get a very structured blog post too, with just minimal input. Now, again, I would caution you, don't think you're just pushing a button and I just go and I post this. We want you to contribute to this. We want you to work with them and riff with them. All right, Mike, I could show you a bunch of other things. I want to show art super quick. Anything else I should show here before I move on to art?
Now let's see art. We've got a ton of questions coming in about various features and capabilities too. So let's look through the art capabilities, and then we'll dive into answering everyone's questions kind of around exactly the nuts and bolts of how this works.
Perfect. Okay, I'm going to go a little fast just because I want to make sure we get to some of the questions. So you can see here, I was in a previous search looking for solar panels. What I really love is you can just do open forms. So you're going to see me do that. I've practiced this a lot, but there's also these cool toggles where you can say, hey, I'm kind of writing a sad story or I'm writing a happy story. You can even do, which is really cool, different styles. So I'm going to do an impressionist example because that's like my favorite art style. And then you can also do specific artists. This is one of my favorites, is find like a photographer or a painter that you love. You can kind of emulate their style, which is pretty cool. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start with just kind of a basic input here. So I want a mountain and a lake, hashtag Bob Ross vibes, right? I want just some happy trees. I'm going to add a few things to it. Let's see here. There you go. I'll just add, there you got beautiful in there. That's plenty. Let me just generate that and see where we're going here. So same kind of thing. Think of this as comps. It's going to generate some images. You can just keep going if you're not finding the one that you like. And what I really love, by the way, is up here at the top, you can actually see your history. So if number one was your favorite, but you accidentally went past it, you can totally go back and pull in that image. And then after this generates, I'll also do an example here where I kind of throw in some specific artists. So for example, one of my favorite like artist painters is Frederick Edwin Church. So I'm going to throw that in there and kind of show you an example, but you kind of see here. So this one's kind of cool. That one's not too bad. I like the reflection, not quite meeting my needs. I'm going to just keep going. Okay, and while it does that, one other cool trick I'll show you real quick is you can actually blend styles too. So you can do what's called a weight. You can say, hey, do a little bit of this artist, a little bit of that artist, a little bit of this style, a little bit of that style. So I'll kind of show you an example there, but hey, there we go. Some of those are pretty cool. That looks like stuff I would see in Park City, Utah, like in a, that's pretty cool. Okay, then let me show you an example of like adding a artist style. So let's do Frederick Edwin Church. I love his paintings. They just make me want to like fall asleep in a chair. And then lastly, I'll kind of show you the weight. So I had a few more examples, but that's okay. Feel free to ask me questions here. Art is still brand new. Like literally, we built this thing in 4 or 5 days. We have a team that's fully staffed on this and just working on enhancements every single day. Some of the cool ones I want to tease that will come out later. One of them is called image to image. So you could actually give, you know, a picture you took for your brand or you know, something you designed in Illustrator. You could give it to Jasper and say, give me something similar to this. The other thing we're toying with on the business side, which is really cool, is eventually being able to plug in your brand colors. So you have a specific, you know, hex codes that you want to use. Oh, there we go. Look at that one.
That's awesome.
You can plug in specific hex codes and say, you know, make sure you generate an image with our brand colors. So that's another thing we're kind of toying with, which is pretty cool. All right, let me show you real quick. Last one here. I'll show you how to do that style mixing. So I'm a big impressionist guy. Van Gogh, Monet are, I mean, they're the best. So let's see what that comes up with here. Now, I saw earlier, we'll talk more about this later. These are all kind of your images right now. So we have a whole page that kind of explains copywriting. We can send in the follow-up. This is all still new. Now, in the future, one thing we're talking about a lot is figuring out how like you could generate. So going back to my example of generating a spokesperson, I generate a spokesperson, I say, that's mine. So that's something we're also thinking about, we're working on. Okay, that's not too bad. That's not too bad. That's pretty cool.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, Mike.
That's awesome.
Questions with our remaining time. Anything else before I jump out of here?
No, that's awesome. We've got a ton of questions about what Jasper can do. So maybe we could throw up do you want to throw up real quick the slide with the special offer for people from Jasper? Yes. And while we answer some questions, people can check that out.
Okay, so again, my team is building business features. We have something called doc sharing coming out. Basically, you can share and collaborate with people on your team. We have something called doc statuses, so you can signify when something's published versus if it's still in a draft state. The most exciting thing we're working on is basically this concept of you teaching Jasper about your business, about your products, about your style guides, and he basically generates content accordingly. So if you want to get in on the business plan, we're offering 20% off right now. We'll also send this in a follow-up in case you can't screenshot this, but join now because we're growing like crazy. And our team's just going to keep knocking out features. And I'll also say, if any of you are interested, you want to kind of give some feedback, you want to talk through some things, let us know. More than happy to jump on a call and talk through kind of where our mindset's at.
Very cool. That's awesome. And yeah, like for everyone's information, we'll make sure that all those details are also sent to you. If we don't get to all the questions, because I know, we're running a little short on time here, we'll make sure to answer those. We'll have Jasper follow up with you or answer them in the chat. So a big one I want to just reiterate here. So it sounds like when you're creating content with Jasper, A, there's no worries about plagiarism, but B, you do need to do your own vetting of kind of facts and research. Is that correct?
Yep. That is correct. Yep. So we all know this. I don't know about you. I've gone to Twitter before and I saw a fact and I'm like, oh, that's real. And I go research. I go, no, I don't know what they're talking about. That's totally not real. So you definitely do want to do fact checking like you would today. Now, again, we've also got that baked in plagiarism checker. So I use that all the time because, again, I don't want to make sure I'm harvesting anything from anywhere else on the internet. And again, our kind of stated uniqueness is 99.9%.
Gotcha. So that's awesome. That's really helpful. And I know a bunch of people had similar questions, kind of where's the information coming from on the internet? And is it original information? Should you be checking? And that's just a good point for everyone to realize is like, no matter what's being written, no matter what's being said, you do want to have a human in the loop at all times with these kinds of writing tools. I wanted to talk a little bit about, you showed off quite a bit about boss mode and kind of the power user mode. What is the average kind of ramp up time to learn some of those more advanced features? I know for us specifically, we use Jasper. We're definitely trying to become more power users of it. Probably took me an hour or two, I would say, grand total, to really go through all the great materials you guys have. Is that about average?
Yeah, it really depends. I mean, let me actually show you. Instead of sharing my whole screen, I'll frame it there so it's a little bit easier to look at. There we go. So a lot of people just come here and they like spin up a blank document, which you can totally do, especially if you know like the hotkeys like I do and how to get to power mode. We also have these workflows that help a ton. And on top of all of that, so quick shout out to Ava on my team. She's kind of like our sign up product manager. They have a checklist coming out. They also have like a starter doc similar to Notion that's like, hey, here's how you get started with commands. So we're constantly finding ways to like get people in and using content faster. But I think your experience is very, very common. My advice again would be start with templates, start kind of building the piece at a time using templates. And then once you're feeling really good about it, have at it. Use all the different tools, use recipes, which we didn't even talk about. It's a little bit more technical. So that's my advice. Use our workflows, use our templates to get started. And then from there, you'll be a black belt in no time.
Gotcha. That's great. So when we're thinking at a high level about using AI generated content, are there implications to this content with kind of Google search and things like that in your experience?
Yes, good question. I'm going to see this one. I actually might send a follow-up because we have a really like thoughtful question that our AI team wrote.
Yep.
Long story short, again, this isn't just a robot spitting out content as a bot. So that's really what their AI policies are trying to catch and reduce, is that kind of content. Ours really is indiscernible from like human writing, especially when you're going through and you're adding the language you'd normally use and editing those generations. So it's not really a problem for us at all right now, but I'll send a follow-up. It's a little bit more detailed on how we handle that.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's definitely, I know, top of mind for a lot of content marketers out there. So it'd be awesome to see. So I do want to ask, we had talked about recipes, templates, and things, and people will, have to explore quite a bit on their own. Is there Any certain type of content that Jasper's more effective with versus others? I mean, is there anything it specializes in? I know there's like 50 plus, templates and recipes.
Yeah, really, we're marketing content oriented, right?
Mhm.
So I think I was joking with you before the call. We are not I'm a student, write all my papers for me. So we are not. Our sales team will straight up be like, that's not how we work here. So really, it's marketing specific. So like the ADA framework, you'll see like blog posts, templates for blog posts on your site. You'll see like an email campaign workflow, social media workflow. So again, we're all like marketer oriented.
Gotcha. So it can do everything from writing marketing assets to creating website copy,
Yep.
correct?
Now, that being said, we do have some examples of like other industries. So we actually have some authors that use Jasper, again, like I used in my graphic novel example, to riff and to like generate books. We have a few people that have published books using Jasper. So there are examples, but again, our bread and butter is content marketers, and we're not gonna forget about you all.
Awesome. That's great to hear. So if I am writing a topic similar to, say, the one you did the demo of around renewable energy, and someone else using Jasper writes on the same topic, it'll output two different posts, correct?
Yep, exactly. I'm going to keep hitting that line. Try it for yourself, right? Try a generation, come back, do a very similar or the same input, you'll get a different output. And that's constantly something that we're working on, again, to make it even more unique than it already is.
Very cool. We got a couple questions about, different languages with Jasper. I know you had showed a little bit. Can you elaborate really quick on, you can put things in a different language and get outputs in different languages as well?
Yes. So here, I just realized I didn't even give a title to my document. That's okay. Come in here. And maybe whoever's asking the question, is there a specific language in mind? I saw some people from like Italy. So maybe I'll do
let's try that.
Italian just as an example here. And let's see. I'm going to use commands here. This paragraph in Italian. And then we come down here, output language, Italian. See how close it is. So my wife's on the call. She could tell you if this is pretty decent or not, because she speaks Italian, but I'll have the audience speak. So, again, it's not, I wouldn't say it's perfect in terms of translations, but I don't think Google Translate is either. But I think it's workable. I think you can take this content and folks in that region will understand this.
Very cool. That's awesome. So as we kind of get to the last couple minutes here, I want to try to rapid fire a couple more questions at you. Is it possible to publish blog posts directly from Jasper, or are you copying and pasting into a CMS?
Working on that. Yeah.
Gotcha.
To be brutally honest, that's my pain point we're working on for business customers. Right now, you copy and paste. It does copy all your formatting. So that shouldn't be a problem, but we actually are working on designs to like export to HTML. We eventually want to just be able to source right to your CMS. So like export right to WordPress or whatever you're using for your CMS. So that will come. I promise you. It's something I'm really passionate about, because the copy and pasting works, but I mean, come on, let's do better than that.
Sure. That's awesome. We're all trying to make our lives as easy as possible with this technology, for sure. Yep. So two kind of separate but related questions around collaboration. So one, can you use Jasper at the time to collaborate on the same writing or document?
You can. I wish I could show that. And that kind of goes hand in hand with our doc sharing feature we're about to.
Right.
It's this little guy right here. So it's actually very similar to Google Docs. You'll see that person show up, their name, and then you actually see their cursor and they can edit a document with you. So yeah, I've actually used that before with my team just to kind of write something up together.
Cool. And related to that, are there any type of like privacy settings around content for like if you're sharing with within an enterprise or something like that?
Yes. So this is one of the reasons why we did doc sharing, actually.
Cool.
We're talking to folks and they're saying, hey, I'm doing this press release, but everyone can see my documents. And so they're telling the company, and now the cat's out of the bag. So a few things I'll show you here, just some designs. Basically, you'll have a share icon on the doc list. You also have a share icon within the document. You click that bad boy, it opens up basically this modal. Here you can add people similar to Google Docs or Box or Dropbox. You can also make the document public, so that shares it with everyone in your workspace, or maybe it's something sensitive, you just leave it private by default to you. So that's coming out very, very soon this month.
That is awesome. And we just hit time here. So everyone, thank you so much for your questions. Kathy had mentioned in the chat, if we can't get through all of them, but we will definitely send those to the Jasper team and they'll be in touch with answers that probably have some fodder for some Jasper assisted content to create around this. CJ, we got a ton of comments about what a great presenter you are. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise. That was an incredible demo. So thank you for being here. Thanks everyone for making the time. And I just want to reiterate, if you are a marketer, business person, do not sleep on this technology. Go try it out today. Use the discounts if you are interested in a paid business plan, but at the very least, sign up for a free trial. You cannot wait to get started with the incredible technology we just saw. Dude, CJ, thank you again. Really appreciate it.
Thank you all. Much appreciate it, everyone. Have a great day. I am excited to see all the content you come up with.
Awesome. Everyone, have a good one.
See ya.
Bye.